have a seat. Thank you. Vice President Biden, Vice President. That was a joke. That was all set up.
Mr. President, what do you say to Democrats worried about the midterms? What do you tell Democrats worried about the midterms?
We got a story to tell, just got to tell it.
Does what's happening in Ukraine make you rethink your decision, Mr. President?
It is Wednesday morning in Athens, Greece, and this is going to be my morning update. And you just saw the video, the intro to this video where you had Joe Biden and Barack Obama and Kamala Harris. Barack Obama was at the White House giving a speech. Joe Biden was completely ignored. I mean, completely, absolutely ignored. Is there any doubt who the real president of the United States is? Is there any doubt who's really running the show? And seeing Joe Biden kind of looking around, wondering, where am I? Will someone talk to me? What's going on here? I mean, he looks utterly confused, but I don't think that's the real story when you look at these videos. Okay, you had the speech from Obama where he makes fun of Biden. I mean, that alone tells you that Obama has no respect for the president of the United States. I mean, this is the president of the United States, Joe Biden, and Barack Obama gives a little speech and he completely humiliates Joe Biden, and Biden claps and he takes it. Zero respect for Biden. But I think the real story in this video, in my opinion, is when you look at all the different segments that I pieced together. You have Kamala Harris constantly by Obama's side, like constantly by Obama. And Obama didn't make fun of Kamala. Obama, as he's walking in one scene, as he's walking, when they ask Obama about the midterms, and he's walking off in the White House, he puts his hand around Kamala, and you can tell that Obama likes Kamala. He controls Kamala. Kamala's his person, and Biden is not. So we are seeing the end of Joe Biden, in my opinion. I don't know when it's going to be, but there's no doubt that Obama is going to push for Kamala, and it's going to be an Obama presidency via proxy, via the Kamala Harris proxy. Some people can say Obama's already pulling the strings, but I don't think it's fully under Obama's control. I think that Biden is very much in his character, as he's always been over the years. Biden is a company guy, and you know, he's just looking for the best angle to exploit, to enrich himself is pretty much how the Biden family has always worked. You know, they're like Biden reminds me of like he's like a bag man or something. You know, he's whatever I can do to just grab my piece. Doesn't matter if I have to align with the Clintons, with the Obamas. It doesn't matter. Just give me my 10%. And I think that's the position that Biden has taken as president. So he'll align with Obama on some things. He'll align with the Clinton faction on others. And that's how he's been playing it. But once Obama gets rid of Joe, then he's going to have his person, his girl in the Oval Office. And that's going to be Kamala. I think the videos, you know, it's crystal clear that Obama is going to run the show via Harris. Smart money, I think if you were going to place a bet, smart money would say that they would wait for after the midterms, where the Democrats get completely crushed, and then Biden resigns, steps down, 25th Amendment, something like that. Like, you know, I can't lead this party anymore. We've been completely humiliated. It's time for me to go. I could see some sort of scenario. I'm not sure how it's going to play out, but I can see something like that. Like after the midterms, is when Biden's out, and then they're going to put Kamala in there, and who knows who's going to be her VP? Maybe Hillary, maybe Michelle, and they're going to make a run for the White House in 2024, and they're going to focus their efforts there. Even when Obama was asked about the midterms, he didn't really seem to care that much. He just kind of gave an answer like, we've got some answers, and that was that. I think Obama's strategy is going to be to focus on the election in 2024. And he's going to do that via maybe Harris, Michelle. Maybe Harris, Michelle. I said Clinton. I don't think Clinton will be in because Clinton is the other faction. So, yeah, scratch that. Scratch that. Kamala, Michelle. Anyway, that was the opening segment. I've got a clown world to get to as well. So we'll talk about the clown world at the end of the video, which has to do with an interview between Sean Hannity and Sean Penn. How about that? And I mean a long interview. And anyway, they talk all about Ukraine, pure propaganda. But I'll talk about that clown world at the end of this video. The first big story that we have to get to is the helicopters in Mariupol. 2 more helicopters. They flew over the Azov Sea. They tried to get into this steel factory, Azovstal, and this time they weren't allowed to land. They were shot down as they were approaching. And so everyone is asking, what is so damn important that is tucked away, that is hidden away? Or who? A better question maybe is who is so damn important in that steel factory, that's tucked away in that steel factory. And, there's a journalist. And look, I don't know. First of all, I'm going to preface this with no one knows. No one knows except Putin, the U.S., Macron, Stoltenberg of NATO, I'm sure, and maybe some of the troops on the ground, some of the commanders. But look, you had a journalist by the name of Yerman Vladimirov, and he put out a quote yesterday saying NATO officers from France, Germany, Britain, and neutral Sweden got stuck at Azovstal in Mariupol. Right now, they are getting in touch with the Russian troops with a request to help them leave, to organize a corridor for the exit. Can I confirm this? No. I'm just throwing it out there. That was from a journalist, Vladimirov. What are they hiding in Mariupol? Who are they hiding? Why are they so close to the front lines? Why are they embedded with the Azov guys? I did in my video yesterday, I said that France is neck deep into this. I believe that it's very safe to say that French military, French commanders, I don't know what's going on, but something about France and Azov Battalion and Azovstal, the steel factory, is there. There were pictures floating around. Once again, can't confirm it. Can't say that they're real or not. But there were pictures being posted on Telegram of Russian troops with like a French military beret and French military pins, showing them off in their hands. So, I don't know. The Russian Defense Ministry said 2 Ukrainian Mi-8 helicopters again tried to evacuate the leadership of the Azov National Battalion from Mariupol. They were shot down. Mi-8 helicopters shot down to evacuate the leadership of the Azov National Battalion. That's coming from the Russian Defense Ministry. The Russian Defense Ministry, they're going to put out accurate stuff, and they don't say much, but going by what they said, yeah, they're trying to evacuate someone. They're saying Azov military. But the question is who? Who is embedded with Azov? And are the Azov guys, are they holding these, according to the Russian journalist, French, German, Swedish, and French, German, Swedish NATO officers, are they holding them hostage? Because I'm getting reports that it's Kiev that's not allowing corridors out of Azovstal. There's something very embarrassing for Kiev there. And here's my hunch. Here's my hunch. I think there's no doubt about it that France is deeply embedded with Azov. I mean, deeply. Now, if they're being held hostage or not, these guys, I don't know whether they're working with the Azov guys or being held hostage, I don't think it matters, because if this got out, it's deeply embarrassing for Macron, especially as he's entering an election in literally, I think, a week or two. And the polls are tight. He's got like around a 5-point lead over Le Pen right now as we're heading into the elections. And Le Pen is gaining momentum and Macron is losing momentum. So I think that, oops, I almost lost the phone. France is deep in this. Other countries, I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if Germany, UK, and Sweden are also involved in this. But Macron has a lot to lose if this gets out. Now, as far as Kiev not allowing a humanitarian corridor and pushing for some sort of heroic helicopter evacuation, well, I think Kiev doesn't want this to get out because this may sour the European public's support for Ukraine in this war. In other words, the Ukraine officials, Kiev, Zelensky, via orders from the US, no doubt about it, and Victoria Nuland, they're probably saying, you know what, say no to the corridors. Under no circumstances are these NATO officers or these officials or whatever's there, under no circumstances are they going to be exposed, or are the Russians going to get a hold of them? Because it'll be an embarrassment to us, and it'll be embarrassment to our EU partners, and it may sway public opinion away from escalating this conflict. And that is why Kiev is dead against getting any sort of a corridor evacuation, and they're trying to get this heroic helicopter rescue, because they know if NATO is captured, then it's going to look really bad. And I think a lot of people in Europe are going to say, what the hell are we doing there? Why has our military been captured? This is escalating. This is getting too much. This is too dangerous. We're escalating too quickly, and public opinion could change in Europe. And that would be a big blow to the neocons and their escalation efforts. Remember, the neocons have always said what their goal is. Their goal, according to Nuland, according to Sullivan, is an insurgency, a prolonged insurgency. Those are the words they've used. They want a prolonged insurgency. So they don't want, under any circumstances, the public opinion to turn south against this war. They want the public to be focused on Ukraine long term, and they want the public to support this insurgency that they're ramping up. And they are ramping it up because we now have confirmed reports that the Czech Republic has supplied Kiev with modern T-72M tanks, and this is according to the Wall Street Journal. So, and we have the fact that Germany is also trying to get tanks and weapons into Ukraine to keep the war going. And Australia, and this is according to the Wall Street Journal, Australia said that earlier in this week it has been flying Bushmaster armored vehicles into Europe to hand them over to Ukraine. The German military is trying to get howitzer deliveries to Ukraine as well. So they're all trying to ramp up this insurgency. I don't think that NATO believes Ukraine can win this war. Actually, I'm positive that NATO knows Ukraine is lost, but the plan for NATO and for Nuland and for the US, the Sullivans and all these neocons, the plan is to get as many weapons in there and to weaponize the West. This is what my feeling, weaponize the west of Ukraine and get this insurgency moving. They're building up the insurgency forces. That's how I see it. Maybe they're trying to get weapons in there to get them to the Ukraine military so that they can make some sort of a final stand in the Donbass cauldron. But I just don't know how those weapons are going to reach the east. That's my opinion. I think Russia's not going to allow those weapons to reach the east. The Russian military is going to probably do their best to not allow those weapons to cross over from Poland into the west of Ukraine. But I just can't believe that the NATO military and the US generals and all of these people that are pushing for this insurgency I can't believe that they don't know that the Ukraine military in the east and the fighting in the east is over. I think they understand that, and they're moving now towards their insurgency plan. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but boy, there are some stuff. There are some things that are really, really hidden in Mariupol and Azovstal, and I don't understand why the Russians aren't going in harder into the steel factory. I wonder if there's negotiations taking place behind the scenes between Macron and Putin and NATO generals and Russian generals. I wonder if there's not some sort of negotiation taking place, and that's why the Russians just don't liquidate whatever is in that steel factory. Maybe the Russians don't go in hard because they want to capture what's in that steel factory as well. Maybe they want to capture those people that are there and use them as leverage. I've heard there's some other stuff in Azovstal, but I can't report on that. And there are rumors about a U.S. Very high-level military official. I can't report on that because I just can't confirm it at this point in time. The reason I talk about the French, German, British, and Swedish commanders being in Azovstal is because we're getting a lot of reports, including some hints from the Russian Defense Ministry that these guys are there. My opinion is it's pretty definite. I don't want to say definite. I'm leaning towards the opinion that France, without a doubt, French military, without a doubt, is stuck in Mariupol. That's just my opinion. We also had NATO. By the way, we had NATO come out and publicly say that they are now targeting China, that they're going to target China in their defense alliance. And they said, and I quote, they said that Beijing poses a strategic challenge to security. And this is coming straight from Secretary General Stoltenberg. And what NATO is doing now is they're getting their allies in the Asia-Pacific region. They're getting them to meet with NATO officials and to plan out a strategy to take on China. These countries include Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and South Korea. And they've been invited to a NATO challenge, a NATO conference, where they're going to talk about the security challenges posed by not only Russia, but by China as well. So China's, that's it. They've been targeted by NATO. Here's some more quotes from Stoltenberg. Stoltenberg said that in this meeting, in this security challenge meeting that NATO is putting on, along with their Asia partners, they're going to, for the first time, take on the issue of China's growing influence and coercive policies on the global stage, which pose a systemic challenge to our security and to our democracy. Stoltenberg also said that we see that China has been unwilling to condemn Russia's aggression and has joined Moscow in questioning the right of nations to choose their own path. And he's urging democracies to stand up for their values against, and I quote, authoritarian powers. That is coming straight from Stoltenberg. China is, that's it, China. China's on the list for NATO, aggression. I don't think the Chinese officials are going to take this very kindly. And there's no doubt that China has been preparing and is preparing for the time when it has to take on this NATO alliance, which is more than Europe. NATO is branching out to encompass more than European countries. So things are ramping up. I'm not saying this is going to be immediate, but as the months and the years go on, we can definitely see where the next conflict is going to be taking place. And Stoltenberg is preparing the ground with whatever partners they have in Asia and the Asia-Pacific region to take on China. So we have that. We had Nuland, who was in Turkey. And as I was talking about in previous videos with regards to Nuland's trip to Turkey, she did indeed bring up the fact that Turkey is supporting Russia. She wants that stopped. She once again pressed the issue of the S-400s and Turkey's purchase and use of the S-400. And Nuland also put a proposal to Turkey to create a new mechanism of U.S.-Turkish cooperation where they're going to work together to stop Russia's resupply of weapons, stop Russia's efforts in Ukraine, and to make sure that Turkey and the U.S. have a closer relationship. And that was Nuland's, I guess you could say carrot and stick, but I think Nuland only brings sticks when she goes and visits countries. We'll see if Erdogan goes along with this. We will see. Erdogan so far has been very, very skilled in playing both sides, the U.S. NATO side and the Russia side, and he's taken a very neutral stance, as neutral as as could be expected from Turkey, as neutral as could be expected from Erdogan. That has been his stance during this entire conflict, and there's no doubt that Nuland is putting on the pressure on Turkey. U.S. is not going to let Turkey go. They are not going to let Turkey stay neutral, and they are not going to let Turkey continue to trade and do business with Russia and China. There is no way that the United States is going to let that happen. If it means that they're going to have to go for another regime change in Turkey because Erdogan continues to not go along with NATO, the U.S. is going to do it. The U.S. has become regime change crazy in the last couple of months. I mean, they've gone regime change nuts. So why wouldn't they put a regime change towards Erdogan in Turkey if Erdogan continues to walk this tightrope? No doubt about it. And finally, the final news topic I want to get to before we get to Clown World is that Dmitry Peskov, and I'm going to read you an article here from RT, the spokesperson for the Kremlin, has made some statements about the gas for rubles to unfriendly states. And he put some more clarity as to how it's going to work. And he said on Tuesday that the switch from gas to rubles is going to be, and I quote Peskov, is going to be a gradual process. Quote, nobody is in a rush. This is the move in stages, very cautious, with consideration of financial and economic realities existing on global markets. Certainly, there is no room for sudden changes. Peskov also said that this must be absolutely thought out, gradual, and carefully calibrated activity. It is impossible to act otherwise. Peskov also said that the Kremlin is in no rush. He was very calm when he was speaking to reporters, giving this statement, very calm, and he said, we're not in a rush. This is going to be a gradual process, but it is happening. Gas for rubles is happening, and we're going to have gas. We're going to have rubles for all kinds of commodities as well. Wheat, oil, metals, fertilizer, potash. It's all going to be paid for in rubles, but it's going to be a gradual, calibrated, well-calibrated process. I said this in a video like 3 days ago, and I was leaning towards the position that Russia is not going to want to shock the system too much. It's just not Russia's style when it comes to economic, financial, trade decisions to just shock the system right away. Yes, it is a shock that they're doing the gas for ruble scheme, but they're going to move about it in a very deliberate, controlled fashion to make sure that there's no blowback that hits Russia, to make sure that it doesn't tank the markets in a way that could be harmful to Russia, to China, to India. So I think that Russia has been consulting with their partners, specifically China, and I'm sure India as well, and other countries that are eager on buying Russian commodities with rubles, and they're going to ease into this. Kind of good news for Europe in that it gives the EU some more time to plan things out, give them some breathing room, but they better start planning quickly because it's not going to be like a 2-3 year process. It's going to probably be like a 3-month process. By the autumn, there's no doubt about it that we're going to have gas for rubles. There's going to be no other option. Come say September, October, November, it's going to happen. So prepare for that as well. Gas for rubles. It's coming, but it's not going to be right away. And now we get to our Clown World story, which is a Hannity interview with Sean Penn. So Sean Penn is making the Clown World segment twice. He put out some statements saying that we need to have billionaires pump weapons into Ukraine, and that way Ukraine can win the war. The great military strategist that is Sean Penn. And in this interview, he's speaking with warmonger extraordinaire Sean Hannity. And this is like a 20-minute plus interview. And I'm going to play a segment in this interview. Sean Penn is literally crying in this interview. I mean, he is doing his best Oscar-performing acting job that he possibly can. And he's acting. And so is Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity has hit all-time lows as a warmonger buffoon. And boy, is Hannity, he is going to take a massive hit. His show is going to be a national, global embarrassment when this war comes to its conclusion. It's going to expose Hannity as the hack that he is, because he has been completely wrong on this war from day one. Completely wrong. But he's also reading the script of warmongers. I'm sure he was put up to this by his Rhino neocon handlers, and they told him, you're going to put Sean Penn on your show. And Hannity did it. He did it. And he has Sean Penn on there, and Sean Penn, also reading a script, also being puppeteered, is crying. Literally, he's almost in tears as he's describing what's going on in Ukraine. And another interesting note before I play the Clown World video, when you look at Sean Penn's dress, like the green shirt, the military style green shirt, the messy hair, it is the whole thing is so scripted. It is so scripted, and he even looks like Zelensky. He even looks a little bit like Zelensky. He looks a little bit like Zelensky with the green, military attire and his facial expressions, the messed up hair. The whole thing is completely scripted. Anyway, here's a segment from this Clown World segment with Sean Penn and Hannity. It'll be a very quick segment, and I'll be back.
I've never felt this way about where our country is and what I experienced emotionally in Ukraine, where it had not, we all talk about how divisive things are, how divided things are here. But when you step into a country of such incredible unity, you realize what we've all been missing. And I don't think that I've got time to indulge my lack of trust, which it becomes a petty thing as people and babies are being vaporized, and that these people are fighting for the very dreams that are the aspiration of all of us Americans. And we talked about that too.
We did. We had a long
agreed on
conversation.
that we've got to take their example of solidarity.
We'll worry about political disagreements. If you ever want to come back another day, you're always invited.
Fair enough.
Here's what I want to know. You were there in November of 2021. Okay. We're not even talking about the real lead up to this conflict by that point.
Right.
Why were you there originally to do a documentary? What was it about Ukraine, or maybe it was about Zelensky, that interested you?
Well, the only thing we talked about, the only thing we felt, was the deepest sense of heartbreak. First for the Ukrainians who were going to fight, be maimed, be injured, be in a war of attrition. But very quickly, I thought, this one, my children are going to feel if this thing is not won. They're going to feel it in tangible ways in their life. Our children in America. This is, you and I can argue all day, but I look at you and I think you believe in this country in your way. I believe it in mine.
100%.
And I think it's at risk because the great dream of it, the aspiration of it, with all its diversity, because Ukrainians, with all their unity, they got a lot of diverse thought over there too. I think we're really at risk if we let the greatest, most historic in our lifetime fight for democracy against a gigantic superpower of a military intimidation.
They've done amazingly well.
And
with what they've had, outmanned, outgunned.
yeah, so that's what I felt from my time there. Going back, the trip in Lviv, which I was going principally with the documentary team, but principally driven by the work with CORE, because we have 200 staff in and out of Ukraine, Poland, Romania, and which I will make a call for help. We need it. We've got incredible both refugee Ukrainians working with us in that 200. We've got Ukrainian citizens of Poland and Romania.
That was the Clown World. Sean Penn, Sean Hannity, and I will leave it there. Duran.locals.com, everybody. Make sure to check us out on Locals today, because Alexandra's going to be doing a live stream on Locals, 7 o'clock London time. I believe that's, what is that noise? Athens, the noisiest city in the world. I believe that is 3 o'clock Eastern time in the U.S., either 2 or 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in the U.S. At 7 o'clock London time, Alexander's going to be doing a live stream on Locals, his weekly Wednesday live stream, theduran.locals.com. And check out our other channels, Alexander's channel and the Duran's channel. Take care.